Hi again. Now that you have an idea why you should use version control, I'd like to explain in detail how to actually use it. You always have two options. Use a command line to work with Git, or use a software with a user-friendly interface like Git Tower, Source Tree, and many others. Please note that it's a personal preference to use a terminal or a GUI. Both of them have their pros and cons. In this course, I'll show you how to use both, and you'll be able to pick a tool which suits your needs better. For now, we'll just stay on the dark side and use the terminal. Let's talk about the commands we used in the previous lesson. There is one command in Git that you're going to be using the most. Git status. It outputs the current state of your repository. You will see if any files have been modified, added, or deleted. Let's run it. As you can see, no repository has been created yet. In order to create a repo, you need to run one simple command: git init. You run it only once before you start a new project. It creates an empty repository in the current folder. If we run git status now, we'll see that the current state of our new repo. But what actually happened? What you didn't see is that Git created a hidden folder .git. In the previous lesson, I mentioned that Git is a tool for storing versions of your project files. Well, that hidden .git folder is the place where versions will be stored. Let's make our first change. Well, we don't have any files to change, so we need to create them first. Okay, so let's create a file, and let's name it file1.txt. Okay, let's put in some basic text. Right, save it. And now let's create file 2. Okay, and let's just leave it empty for now. Cool. Let's run git status again. We can see that these files are currently untracked. What does it mean? I'll repeat again that Git is a tool for managing versions of your files. So at this point, Git doesn't care if you make changes to these files or not. But let's say that we have finished working on file 1 and would like to store its current version. To do that, we need to select files and run a command to save a current version of selected files. Let's do it. We select the files by typing git add file1.txt. We are selecting only file 1 because we haven't finished working on file 2 just yet. Let's run git status again. We see that the current version of file 1 is ready or staged for commit. To commit a file means to save its current version. Every commit has its own unique ID, which is also called hash. Let's commit our changes. Each commit is accompanied by a commit message, which can be a one-line explanation or a full-scale description of all changes in that commit. Let's just use a one-line message. Git commit -m created file 1.txt. -m is a flag that will tell Git that we will be providing a message. By default, if we don't specify the -m flag, Git will open a text editor for you to add a commit description. I personally prefer to use the -m flag to provide a one-line description. It's just faster. Enter, and that's it. We have committed the current version of file1.txt. In order to see that I'm not just making stuff up, let's check our version's history. Well, actually, the right way is to say commits history. For that, we will use a command git log. As you can see, our commit is there, along with its unique ID. In real world, there are always some files you don't want to track. With Git, you can easily do that. Let's create a file and call it unwanted git.log. Okay, let's just leave it empty for now. Okay, that's fine. If you run git status, you will see that this file is untracked. Okay, but we want it to be invisible for Git, just like it doesn't exist. To do that, we need to use a file called .gitignore. It's a hidden text file which you can create. Let's do that. Okay, .gitignore. Enter. All files and folders listed here will be ignored by Git. You can use wildcards as well. So let's list our file here. Unwanted.log and save it. Now we want to check that this unwanted.log is ignored by Git. Let's run git status, and we don't see our unwanted file anymore. Gitignore is an important file, and like any other file in your repo, it must be committed. Let's do that. Git add .gitignore, enter, git commit -m created gitignore. And let's check git log. Now we have 2 commits in our repo. Git add and git commit commands are quite flexible, and we're going to talk about their variations in the next lesson. Now it's time for a nice cup of tea. See you in the next lesson.